Hello and welcome to Ecoholics. A very good evening to all of you. I hope you all are doing well. And this is the examination time, so I hope your preparations are going well. Here we start our discussion, especially we'll start our discussion or we'll focus on today's discussion about the rural India. So we'll try to build a story of rural India and we'll see that how India can actually improve the economic condition that currently that Indian economy is facing. So how they can improve the conditions from the perspective of the rural India. Now you know that in the April-June 2019 quarter, Indian economy registered a meager growth rate at GDP 5%, and that impact obviously on the organized sector. So we have seen that there's a lot of impact on the organized sector, but here government, although government is taking several steps to trigger the economy from the perspective of the supply side, but here we can say there is a need to focus on rural India as well. So this is our today's important discussion, and the topic is based on the rural India. Now first of all, what government should do here in terms of, we can say, optimizing the rural economy or optimizing the fund allocation which actually the rural economy is actually getting. If you see the fund allocation and the revision of Manrega wages, that will alone suffice the requirement of the rural India. Now what does it mean? It means that if you give the improved earnings, especially in the rural sector of India, if their earnings will go up and supported by the good kharif crop, because this time we have experienced a more than decent monsoon. So the kharif crop, which is the crop sown in June and harvest in October, November, so you can say that the Indian economy now facing that we are having the good kharif crop, and this revision in the Manrega wages will improve the rural economy and will improve their exactly the income. Now here, if what government should do here, government should give a little push. How this push can be actually formed? This push via, we can say, the strategic investment. So you must have heard about the word investment, but here the term comes the strategic. What does it mean? It means with the same allocation of the funds, better utilizing, or what we call say optimization of funds, we can achieve this increase in the rural income. Because whenever you provide strategic investment, especially in industry, and we can say the panchayats, that will give extra income to the rural economy, as well as that will give extra employment. And extra employment means extra income on the same lines, because people will get jobs, so they will get extra income, and whenever they will get extra income, it means their spending will also go up. So this is the scenario of today's discussion, today's lecture. If you have your opinion, you can always mention in the comment section, and apart from this, you just listen, and whatever the doubts or discussion that we can take after the class. Now starting with the topic that you know that around 66%, or what we call more than two-thirds of the country's population resides in around 6 lakh villages. So the 6 lakh villages that India is having, two-thirds of the population is rural population. Now you know that there are two acts, 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act and 74th Constitutional Amendment Act. These Constitutional Amendment Act are also giving extra focus on the rural local bodies as well as urban local bodies. And the third thing that we have is the Finance Commission. What Finance Commission? Finance Commission role is give recommendation on the resource transfer. It means, we can say, resource means here the money, the tax amount. So net proceed, what we call, in place of the tax amount, this Finance Commission actually give recommendation to the central government that how much they have to transfer to the state government or local self-government bodies. So the 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Act, they came in the year 1992, and the Finance Commission, which is a constitutional body, they directly provided funds to the local self bodies, or what we call panchayats. Now, if you see that these local self governed bodies are very important in order to transform the rural infrastructure. So, rural infrastructure plays an important role. If you see a single panchayat which is having population approximately, suppose 2500 people are living in this village, they receive around 60 to 70 lakh per annum. So per year, this village of 2500 population will receive 60 to 70 lakh rupees per year. And one of the larger populations, suppose the population is around 20,000, this village receives around 2.5 crore rupees per year. So you can understand that they are receiving the high amount of money for a particular year. Now suppose this allocation we can merge with the MGNREGA, that is Manrega or Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. If we link these wages to the Manrega in order to give certain kind of aid, especially to the asset creation. So for the asset creation, that will trigger the infrastructure growth into the rural economy or rural India. If this infrastructure growth that rural economy will experience, that will result into the extra income. If the extra income means that improved condition as well as the extra expenditure from the rural person. Now what does it mean? What is the scenario of this? So we'll discuss that what are the requirements for having these kind of facilities. Now the first requirement what we have to do is to ensure the development. We should ensure the development of the structures, like we can say development of drainage system in rural areas. Now the systematic planning for the topography. So topography is related to the geography of that particular area. Now what we can do, we can concrete the roads, or we can say concrete the lanes in the particular village. Then we can give the drinking water. Then we can give piped drinking water directly to their home. If you see, we can make panchayat a bhavan with high speed internet as well as the computer system. Apart from this, we can make certain schools as well, certain playgrounds, etc. So you can see that this will give the boost to the rural economy, and these are the basic things. So these are non-negotiable structures. What are negotiable structures? It means we can negotiate on this. Like for example, ISRO's Chandrayaan 2, that is a negotiable negotiable structures, we can say. Why? Because it is not actually benefiting the whole of the population, it's benefiting the country as in terms of research. But if you see these kind of example that I gave, these are non-negotiable developmental examples. So you have to develop this. Now if you develop these kind of a structure, what will be the benefit? This will require certain funds, and that funds will be provided by the Ministry of Rural Development, we can say the Ministry of Panchayat, Ministry of Drinking Water and Sanitation, Ministry of HRD or MHRD, Human Resource Development. These kind of things that we can use in order to empower the Anganwadi buildings or their institutions. Now what we can say, if we sum up this whole discussion till this particular point, this is leading towards government is creating smart villages. That is the real India. Here, this is called the real development. Smart villages and smart panchayats, then they will generate extra demand in the economy, and extra demand will give boost to the rural economy, ultimately to the whole of the economy. Now, these kind of things will not need any extra fund. Here, very careful, this is a research, and this research is not with any extra fund. It means what I was discussing, these funds, this will remain as it is. So without having the extra funds, that government can generate these kind of assets. Now if you see the Manrega wages, Manrega wage revision, what we call is indexation of Manrega. Manrega wage revision means as your price goes up in year by year scenario, your wage will also go up. So wage revisions are important. If you see the trend of wage revision, generally the minimum wages, so minimum wages decided by the collector or decided by the particular state, that is based on the wages provided by the Manrega. It means revision in the Manrega wages will reflect the amount on minimum wages as well. Last time what government has done, it was 2009. So you can see that it was around, it has been 10 years, a decade, that Manrega wage revision is due. Although there are two committees, these two committees are important for the examination purpose. Number one, we have the Mahendra Dev Committee. Mahendra Dev Committee suggested that the Manrega wages must be indexed. Indexed means that must be linked with the inflation rate, and that inflation rate must be based on CPI, that is Consumer Price Index, in order to protect the workers against the inflation. Previously what government was doing, government was indexing wages based on the consumption pattern. Now the second committee that we have is the Nagesh Singh panel. And the Nagesh Singh panel suggests that there must be a shift of indexation from CPI agriculture to CPI rural. Why? Because rural is having more components and it has a wider scope. Agriculture, CPI agriculture is just based on the some agriculture commodity. So this panel, or this particular panel, Nagesh Singh panel, actually highlighted that if you see that inflation revision or revision in the wages, that would incur around 2500 crore for the government. So this committee actually set up in 2016. If you see, this is 2017 and this is Mahendra Dev in 2016. So you can see that the extra fund that government should actually pump into the wage revision of the Manrega, that is the extra amount is 2500 crore. But we can say government is actually not interested in this. Now if you see the allocation for 2019-20 for Manrega, the amount is 55,000 crores. And you know that 75% of the amount already exhausted by the end of the September. So we can say that this increase in 55,000 crore, if we compare with 2018-19, the increase is just 2.9%. So you can understand that wages must be revised by the government in order to look these rural economy wages attracting. Now if you see, the other social protection that also provided by the government is by the death and accidental insurance. Now death and the accidental insurance are vital because that provides everyone with certain surety or social protection. But the here question is about the beneficiaries. So the government should keep in mind that BPL card holders should be actually choosing very carefully. So there must be accuracy in giving the BPL card to the people belonging to this category, and easy access to financial institutions like bank. Now if you see that kind of livelihood opportunity created by certain vision, that will give more important like the consumption in the economy. So if you do this, that will trigger the consumption in the economy, because wage revision means increase in the wages. Increase in the wages means increase in the expenditure. If people will spend, obviously people will consume, and people will consume, so obviously the in economy money will be there. So the demand goes up as well as the supply, so the production again goes up and economy will able to actually recover. So here that will trigger the consumption. And we can say the major important sectors like the road development, the internet penetration, and the financial access. So these are the three important things that you can write in the examination. First of all, road development. The second one is internet penetration. Third one is financial access. That can work as the stimulant. So that can work as the stimulus. Now there are other issues that we need to address, and there are a lot of issues. But let me tell you that the first challenge is about the lack of financial inclusion still we are having. We don't have any bank in around, we can say, 5 kilometer radius of a particular village. So there's a difficulty in financial inclusion. The first challenge is about the financial resources that we are having, because in order to match the competitive demands we need, banks should be there. Now if you see there was one bureaucrat, Aruna Sharma. I met her personally, and she said that lack of financial resources actually the least of the problem. There are other problems as well. There are like the quality of standards is the main problem. If you actually provide the quality standards, so quality standard about everything about the financial facility, etc. If you see that the life of the rural people, it will not be able to increase the quality. That quality is important, because if you are providing certain household the infrastructure, the appropriate working place, appropriate rural area, appropriate connectivity, but that is not sustainable. Because if you want to achieve the sustainable development, that cannot be achieved with inequality, that cannot be achieved with the gap between rich and poor that has been increasing since globalization, we can say, in India. So the sustainable development required that this inequality should actually become less, and that the gap is closer. If we wish that rich and the poor, the gap between their income level has been must be decreasing. Now we can say that the government first adopted the Millennium Development Goals in the year 2000 with their target in 2015. Now in 2015 we adopted Sustainable Development Goals, and these goals will have the target of till 2030. So we can say that these are not rhetoric, these are certain kind of commitment that government should follow. So in the Sustainable Development Goals there are 17 goals and 169 targets that government should take care, and this is very best thing for India as a particular country. Because if you see in India, that if you see the targets that are comparatively, we can say that it is made for Indian people and Indian policymaker. Now, what is this commitment? SDG is a commitment, as I said earlier. Commitment to what? Commitment to ensure that no one goes to bed hungry. So that is the point here I have to make. Now here, the most important thing is the opportunity, because equality of opportunity is very vital. So no one misses an opportunity for better life because of poverty. So poverty is actually a disease for the country. If we say that, that is the responsibility and the effort must be made by the elected representatives of the particular district, state, and whatever it is. Now if we see that estimated total developmental funds that each district annually gets, so we suppose that this is a district ABC. This district approximately receive 800 crore to rupees 1200 crore every year from the various things like various grants of the central and the state government, But here we can say they utilize only 60% of these funds. And if you see the quality outcome, that is around 40%. So you can see that the efficiency that these panchayats are working, and this is written in the budget document. If you see budget document of 2017, it is written there that 800 to 1200 crore each district receiving per year, and 60% of that they are able to utilize, and 40% that quality is ensured, and the qualitative outcome is only just 40%. So here we can say that the transfer from the state center to the state, and or directly from center to the local bodies, these kind of transfers are very vital. But here the grants that are directly releasing to this district, that is the sole implementing agency, that is a good policy. But here we need to see that there must be institutional setup for the efficient utilization of these funds. So here the question is not about the policy, here the question is all about the implementation or the utilization of these funds. So we need to actually take the systematic approach, and that is a key to trigger the demand in the rural area, and ultimately from rural area to whole of the economy, and that will accelerate India's GDP growth rate, and India can achieve the target of $5 trillion economy by the year 2024. So that's it for today's lecture. If you like the lecture, please tell us in the comment box. If you have any doubt, you can mention, you can ask anytime, feel free to ask. So I'm waiting for your doubts, for your response, then we'll wind up the session. So that is the live session. Here we are meeting at 10:30 p.m. on a daily basis from Monday to Saturday for current issues in the Indian economy or current economic discussion and analysis. These kind of discussions are helpful for UPSC examination mainly, and that is dedicated towards IAS examination, General Studies paper 3 and the economics optional. And the other thing is about Indian economic services, that is also helpful. In banking sector, you'll get help in RBI, in RBI grade B DEPR, that means the second phase is going to held on December the 2nd, and that is also helpful for other bank examination like the probationary officer or specialist officer. So that is the we have here, and apart from this we are having the Instagram handle of the Ecoholics, so you can follow us on Instagram as well, where you get the daily question for that. So these are the things that are important. If you're interested and in any of the courses, you can visit our website, that is ecoholics.in, for more information. And on our mobile app, we have the courses related to economics optional, Indian economic services, and we have econometrics, and a lot of courses are there. And we are starting with the new courses as well. So you can visit our website for this. Yeah, so one of the question is, what's the difference between weak and the strong sustainability? So sustainability is a concept related to environment. This is a sustainability concept. There are two concepts like strong and weak sustainability. So it is given by the Robert Solow. Robert Solow won the Nobel Prize in the year 1987. And he said that strong sustainability and weak sustainability, first of all, weak sustainability means that the human capital can substitute the natural capital. So human capital means like skillful labor can replace the natural capital like any natural resources. Under strong sustainability said that human capital and natural capital both are complementary to each other. It means if we want natural resources to use efficiently, we need human capital as well, and these are complementary, so we cannot use either of this. Both are important. So weak sustainability means human will replace the natural resources, but strong sustainability means human capital and natural capital both are complementary to each other. If you see that this point actually raised in 1992 Earth Summit as well. So at that particular point there was also the issue. Yeah, the next question is from Ankit Pandey, a question related to GST video. Yeah. So how the nominal GDP is related to tax buoyancy? Because if you calculate the tax buoyancy, what's the meaning of tax buoyancy? Tax buoyancy is tax revenue divided by the nominal GDP. So that is what we call the tax buoyancy. If tax revenue goes up without changing in the nominal GDP, that is what we call the tax buoyancy. It means without any increase in the tax rate, either by the increase of GDP or by increase of the tax revenue, we are able to experience that your tax revenue or tax receipt for the government that goes up. Simple example I'll take. Suppose 100 rupees is the tax revenue and your nominal GDP is suppose 1000 rupees. Now the next phase, suppose this remains same and your nominal GDP goes up. What will happen? Your tax buoyancy will decline. Obviously, this the equation 1 is obviously is having a bigger number in comparison to the second one if you calculate. So tax buoyancy is, if suppose this remains same, it means your GDP activity will remain same, but your tax revenue goes up. That is what we call tax is buoyant. So buoyancy means without any increase in the tax rate, your tax revenue goes up. Suppose for example, in the real life we have certain economic activities. So suppose that economic activity started going up but without any increase in the price level. So if there is no increase in the price level, there is no effect on the nominal economy or less effect on the nominal economy, and your tax revenue will go up. So that is the answer for your doubt. I hope you understand. So anything else, feel free to ask if you have any doubt. So that's it for today, and thank you so much for subscribing Ecoholics, and thank you so much for tuning in daily at 10:30 p.m. So it's a good discussion. I also enjoy the discussion with my students, so you're asking quality questions, so that is important. Again, thank you very much for tuning in, and good night.